Hello children, how is your studies going on? Hope you are doing fine. Today I am going to introduce a very important chapter from Java, that is functions or methods. In this lecture I am going to cover why functions are needed, what is the importance of functions, various type of functions, function overloading, and many other basic things related with functions. We will be completing 3 programs, that is one program for printing palindrome numbers from 100 to 400. The next program is twin prime number, and the last program is a number how you can check as special. All these program will be using the concept of functions. So let us start. So children, as we have mentioned in the introduction, I am going to start methods. Some of you are having a complaint that we are not able to see this video in full screen in mobile or in laptop. So there is a shortcut. You see the video there in your Campus Care app little bit, then log in with your same Google account there in your smartphone, otherwise laptop. In the history you can see the entire videos listed, so you can watch the videos there in laptop as well as there in your smartphone in full screen. So it is better you use headphones also while watching. Now methods or functions. First of all, why we need functions or methods? This is in order to divide our programs into small segments and in order to avoid repetitive work. For example, if you wanted to calculate the factorial of a number, then you will be writing a small program with a for loop. Again, imagine you need to calculate factorial of 5 numbers. Then is it possible or easy to write 5 times again and again the same loop running? It's not easy. So your program will be unnecessary, lengthy, and many complexity will be increased. So we suggest methods. So what are these methods? Methods are used to perform certain actions, and a Java method is a collection of statements that are grouped together to perform an operation. A method is a block of code which only runs when it is called. You need to execute that. When you call, see simple, if you call this system.out.println, this is an inbuilt method. When you call this particular method, then also behind there are many statements are executed in order to print the values there on the screen. So this is an inbuilt method where you call it and activate it. Lot of things are going at the background. Lot of statements are executed on behalf of this. Now we are going to see what are the advantages of these functions. The advantage, first one, complex programs can be divided into and organize them in a required manner, meaning divide and conquer. Your big programs can be divided into small segments and afterwards it can be grouped together. So the complexity of the program can be reduced by dividing. Second point, through a function, the implementation details can be hidden. When you see this system.out.println, when you execute this, when you call this function, are you knowing what are the statements written inside this? This is a function. inside this how many statements are there and how it is going to be executed. All these things are hidden from you. So in order to implement more security, the implementation details can be hidden. Third point, the code written can be used again and again. In the program system.out.println, you are using many times. The developers of Java created this method and you are using it for many times in your program, like math.sqrt, any number when you give, you can call that function the required number, maybe 2 times, maybe 10 times, whatever you need. So once you write the code and reuse it again and again. Now a program uses a method occupies less memory space and executes faster. When you write program with the concept of methods, then that program occupy less memory and it will run very fast. Now we are going to see general form of defining a method. See the general format. First you will be writing access specifier, after that return type, function name, parameter list, followed by statements. Statement can be any number of statements. This will be given these blocks. So there can be 2 statements, 1 statement, many statements. See one example I am going to show over here. See public static int method name int a int b. See this is the first line of the method declaration what I have specified here. Its example public. See access specifier. Static modifier. Int the return type. Method name, it is the method name itself. Int a, int b, they are parameter lists. See first one public, this is access specifier. It can be either public, private or protected. These are the visibility modes where a function can be accessed. Its visibility will be mentioned by these keywords. Public means you are knowing the particular method can be accessed anywhere in the program. Outside the program, outside the package, it is global visibility, public. Private means you know your private things. Whatever private means, it strongly belongs to you. So private methods can be accessible within the class only, not outside the class. Private means within the class. Those members can be accessed in the class only. Next is protected. Protected is little different. Protected means the method which is declared as protected can be accessed within the class, outside the class, and it will go up to the package. Now static, it's a modifier. We are not going to the details of modifier, but static will be explained afterwards. Now int is the return type. This function what I have declared here, it's returning an integer value. When you call this function, it will be giving an answer in integer data type. Method name, that is simply the name of the method. Here method name is the name of the method. Now int a and int b, these are list of parameters. The value that should be supplied to the function in order to start the work. See here, there is a program given. In this I am going to explain what are function prototype first. Function prototype means it is the first line of the function. See the declaration line, this entire line is called a function prototype. This includes everything: public, static int. This public is access specifier, this modifier, this is the data type in which the answer will be returned, and this is the parameter list. All together we call it function prototype. Now method signature, this is also another term. All the definitions I have mentioned there in the PPT itself, so please learn these terms. These all terms, whatever I have mentioned, those terms are the key terms, important terms. There is nothing there in the book for reference more. Method signature. Signature means these things only: the number and type of arguments. The method signature basically refers to the number and type of arguments. How many arguments are here? 2 arguments. What are its type? Integer. So that's a signature. Next is static methods. Static methods means static methods are created with the static keywords in their prototype and are called using class name outside the class or directly without using any class name inside the class. How it will be called, that I will explain afterwards, but just understand, static method means when you declare a method, that method will include static keyword. Non-static method means when you declare a method, this keyword will be absent. It will be created without the keyword static in the prototype and are called using an object of the class. They cannot be called directly. This explanation I will give you afterwards. Now there is a very important thing, that is return keyword. You can see return. It's a keyword over here, return. This keyword is having many use over here. See, it is basically used for returning a value to the calling method. This function will be called by some other function. Then the calculated value will be returned from this function to the caller function. That duty is done by the keyword return. This I have mentioned. It's also cause an immediate exit from the function, meaning when you see or execute this particular keyword within a function, the function will be terminated. No more execution of the statements. Suppose you are writing some statements after this also, that won't be executed. This will be the last keyword executed within this function. After that, nothing will be executed. You can have any number of return keywords in a function, but depending upon the situation, only one will be executed. The first one. Otherwise, depending upon the condition, it will be executed. A method can return only a single value, although it can have many return statements. This is very important. When you declare a function, you can specify many return keywords, but it can only return one value. If you type return 5,8, it cannot return 5,8. It can return only a single value. And you can have many return statement in a function also. Here we are going to discuss about the use of void keyword. Use of void as return type. Void data type specifies an empty set of values. Thus, a function that does not return a value is declared as void. In the previous question program, in this place it was int. In this place it was int. What was the meaning of that? When you call and execute that function, it will return an integer value. Here that place is replaced by void. What do you mean by that? Meaning is this function does not return any value. This function does not return any value. So void means function does not return any value. Definition I have given, you need to learn it. Look at here, this is the function and it receives two integer arguments and we are multiplying it here, and since the function is not returning any value, the values are printed over here. Now void main, I am calling this function. What is my function name? MUL. So I am calling this, I am directly calling this. Okay, so MUL, see, two arguments are there, that two arguments you need to supply. So function name, directly you can call in BlueJ, that's why I have written like this. MUL is the function name, then the argument, see, arguments are mentioned. This is the important thing, function name, then argument I have given. So this will be copied over here. So int n1 will have 5 and n2 will have 3. So n1 is 5 and n2 is 3. These values are copied here. Now x is equal to n1 into n2. That means 5 into 3. 15. Answer will be printed. Now this is the function which is, main is the function which is calling MUL. So main is calling which function? MUL. This is very important to understand. The calling function is main and function called is MUL. Okay. Now we are going to see actual parameters and formal parameters. So formal parameters. We are going to see what is formal parameters. The parameters that appear in the method definition are called formal parameters. See, parameters that appear on the method definition. See, this is the method definition. This is the method definition. Here you can see two parameters, n1, n2. These two are called formal parameters. So n1 and n2 are formal parameters. It is declared along with the function, formal, for function declaration. Next is actual parameters. The parameters that appear in the method call statement. This is the method call statement. In this you can see the parameter, the argument values 5 and 3. This is called actual parameters. The method call statement, the value which is visible 5 and 3, here it is called the actual parameters. These are the actual values supplied, and formal will be always visible with the function declaration. Actual will be always visible with the function call statement. Now the method how to execute static and non-static methods. Let us see. See, this is your program. Now look at this function is a void function, okay, and the static keyword is absent here. Just see, the static keyword is absent. Now I am trying to call this function like this. Here this main method is having the keyword static, but in this method the static keyword is absent. Very simple. The function MUL I need to call, and from where I am calling? By standing in main method. And how main is declared? It is declared as static. When you compile this program, you will get an error message. Non-static method MUL. Look at, is it static? No, because here the keyword static is absent. It is given about that only. See, MUL, indent, these are the indent, cannot be referred from a static context. This is the static context. So what is the solution for you? Let us see what is the solution. This is the solution for you. See how to call it is. Look at here what changes I have made. Same method only. There is no change in the first one. Everything is same. But here I have made some changes. In main I have made some changes. Look at what are the changes. See, I have created an object for the class ABC. ABC is my class. How to create object for the class? ABC OB is equal to new ABC. Object is created for the class ABC within the main method. Now I am calling this method by using the object. So ob.mul 53. Previous one, see what I have written over here, mul 53. Instead of that, what I have written now, ob.mul. What is ob? Ob is the object for the class ABC. So I can call this non-static method in a static context only through an instance of the class. An instance of the class. What is instance? This object. So this is the way how you can call a non-static method from static context. How you will be calling it? Through an instance of the class. How to create an instance of the class? See, class name, instance name, that means object name is equal to new ABC, class name. Parenthesis will be given. The static methods are called class methods and they are called using class name. The non-static methods are called instance method and they are called by using an object. This is the thing I have mentioned. See this one, how this can be called static void. See, static void. Here also static. So there is no problem. Static and static. So you can call this one directly. Okay. Now here static is absent. So your program, how you can call this method? But static is present here. Object through. That's why object is created and you are calling ob.mul. This I have explained in the previous slide. So it's very clear. A static method can be accessed in a static context easily directly by using the class name itself. That's why we called math.sqrt. There were no objects created. Math.sqrt any number. No object created. But see scanner class. First of all, you wanted to use scanner means you need to create object for the scanner class. Scanner ob is equal to new scanner system.in. That's the difference. Now we are going to discuss scope of variables. Scope of variable means scope of a variable refers to the area of a program which it can be accessed and used. In a program, the variables, it's from where it can be called and accessed. That is called the scope of the variable. There are variables type instance variables, static variables, parameter variables and local variables. Mainly there are only three types: instance variable, static variables and local variable. Here we are going to discuss about a type of variables. See here, in order to make you understand what are these type of variables, see instance variable. Just after the class declaration, instance variable is declared. Just after the class declaration. Static variable is also declared just after the class declaration only. But there is one difference between these two. Difference is the first one, the static keyword is absent, but the second one, the static keyword is present. So the main difference between these two, instance variable will be declared without static keywords and static keyword will be used for declaring static variables. Static variable is also called as class variables. Instance variable, it is also called as data members. Data member, otherwise instance variable. Static variable, otherwise class variables. Now we are going to see what is this local variable. Local variable means that will be declared within a method or some if statement or something. Its scope will be strictly the scope of the method or the particular curly bracket wherever it is starting or ending. That will be the scope of that particular variable. Instance variable and static variable having the scope within the entire program. A variable declared inside the body of the method is called local variable. You can use this variable only within the method or scope. Instance variable, a variable declared inside the class without using the static keyword but outside the body of the method is called instance variable. Static variable, a variable which is declared inside the class with the static keyword is called static variable. You can create a single copy, meaning static variable only one copy will be available for the entire class, and instance variable as many objects that you are making, that many copies will be available. For example, in a class, the projector that you are sharing with the entire class, but your bag, your pen, as many students, your personal pen or bag or whatever things are there, that will be individually available for you. Same way, the number of objects that you are creating, suppose you are creating 5 objects for this class A, then 5 copy of this instance variable will be available separately, but only one copy of static variable will be available for the entire class. The class will share one copy of this static variable, and each variable will have a copy. Each variable means the data members will have, means the object will have a copy of this instance variable. Local variable, there is no need of any confusion, that will be available within the method and in its scope only it can be used. So here we are going to discuss about pass by value. It is a process in which the function parameter values are copied to another variable, and instead of this object copied as passed. This is known as call by value. Now there is a confusion for you. What is this actually? This is a definition which is for learning purpose. When you store a number, index is equal to 10, then the representation, this is the representation. X is the memory location that will have a memory address, and 10 will be stored in that memory. So this is the variable name along with the memory address, then 10 will be stored in that. Now when we copy or use pass by value, see the values, how it is copied and used. See, this is your class, this is an instance variable, this is a small method, and this is the main method. And our program execution, you are knowing that it is starting from the main method, object is created. Now system.out.print before change op.data. This is an instance variable. That's why object through I am accessing it. Object through I am accessing it. OP is the object. See, object. op dot data means this will be printed. Next, object dot change. What is change? Change is the function name. Change is the function name. So op dot change means this function will be called. Change function will be called, and 500 will be copied to this variable. This is the local variable. 500 will be copied to this variable. Now what is happening over here? Data is equal to data plus 100. Okay, so data is equal to data plus 100 means changes what you are making will be available locally here only. That's why after the change, when I op dot change means I have passed 500, that 500 will be copied to data. Okay, now data is equal to data plus 100, that means 500 plus 100, 600. That will be printed, direct value printed. So 600 is printed. What is the next statement? System.out.println after change. I am just checking whether the value of data is changed or not. So I am printing it again, op.data. What will be printed? 50 will be printed. So the answer will be 50, 600, 50 only. So this data is not changing, because why? The values, when you pass by value, its copy will be copied here. That will be used here. Not the original value will change. Now pass by reference. Pass by reference is the process in which the actual copy of reference is passed, not copy of variable is passed. Reference is passed. This is very important. See, string s is equal to rock I am storing. This is the reference variable. Now s means, as I stated earlier, it's having a memory address. In that memory address, normal variables rock will be stored, but in reference variable, in the memory address, another address will be stored. So the memory, when you refer any of the variables of type array, object, string, etc., then the values will be referred not by pass by value, it will be rather referred by pass by reference. Now look at this program. See, same program only with the minor change. Everything is same. See, the program execution starts from here. Object I have created. First I am printing the data itself. What will be printed? op.data means, why op.data? Because this is a variable of instance variable. So object through I am calling, accessing it. op.data means 50 will be printed. Okay. In this 50 will be printed. After that, op.change, and I am passing an object. Object will be passed over here. In this process, from here to here, a reference of the object will be copied. Reference of the object means not the actual value. Reference will be copied where 50 is stored. Okay, its reference will be copied. So op.data is equal to op.data plus 100 means 150 will be the new value. That 150, either I can print it over here, okay, and when you print, I have passed it, then when I print it over here again, then the value will be printed as 150. Okay, new value will be visible both the places. The value what is changed over here, that will be visible here and here, both the places. Why? Because instead of copying the values, the reference, the memory address is passed. That's why. Now we are going to see this keyword in Java. This keyword, this is very important keyword in terms of definition, and questions can come from this this keyword. So learn the definition. This keyword is a reference variable in Java that refers to the current object. It can be used to refer instance variables of current class. It can be used to invoke or initiate current class constructor. So the uses for easy learning I have mentioned here in point wise also. You can go for this point wise, that is easy. Up to here you have to learn keyword is a reference variable in Java that refers to the current object. It can be the three uses. This can be used to refer current class instance variable. Instance variable in order to refer. This can be used to invoke current class methods. Method, these two only I am going to explain to you, not the other one. Constructor, when we discuss constructor chapter, that time it will be explained. So this keyword, it's only a reference. It will behave like a temporary object. So look at this. Int roll number 20. What type of variable is this? Instance variable. What is this? Another instance variable. Now I have declared int roll number here also. See, two places, same declaration. Is it will have any problem? This won't make any problem because this is instance variable and this is a local variable. System.out.println roll number name means it will always give importance to the local variable. So the answer will be printed. Roll number means 10. Then name Alexa will be printed. 10 Alexa will be printed. Now look at the next one. System.out.println. I wanted to print this one. Then instead of an object, I can use this keyword. Which keyword? Reference variable. This can be used. This dot roll number means this one. This dot name means this one. So what will be the answer now? You can say this roll number means 20. Then name means Google. So that's the difference. Very easy. So the first one is clear. Used to refer current class instance variable. So in order to differentiate from local variable and instance variable, what can be used? This keyword can be used. That is the first use. Okay. Local variables will give the importance first. So here when you write this one, local variable only will be printed. I wanted to access this one. Then this dot that particular variable and this dot the next variable. See the next one. 10 Alexa, 20 Google. This I told you. See the next one now. This can be used to invoke current class methods implicit calling, not explicit. Implicitly when we call any method, class methods, knowingly or unknowingly this keyword is applied. So let us see the example. Void first, system.out.println hello first. This is a small method and this is another method. Both the methods are written with a void keyword. That means it does not return any value. System.out.println hello second. So when you run this, I am running this only. This method I am going to run. Okay, this method I am going to run. Then when I run, hello second will be printed. Now I am going to access this one by using this dot first. If I am not using this dot first, only if I am writing first this way, first then parenthesis, then also that won't make any difference. These both are same only. Both will make a call to this function. Both will make a call to the function. What I wanted to explain is whether you write this way, whether you write this way, okay, then this keyword is used. If you are not using, in this one you are not using, but this keyword will be added automatically. So this is the actual thing is going to happen. So what will be the result you are getting? This I told you, this is the method I am going to access. So program execution starts from here. Hello second printed. Now I can write first then parenthesis only. This is also a method calling. Otherwise I can write this dot first. If I am not writing this dot first, then in this automatically this keyword will be added. So hello first will come because I am calling a method named first. Where is first? This. What is printed over here? Hello first. So is it clear now? This can be used to invoke current class methods. Current class methods, these are methods that can be invoked here without creating object by using this keyword. Definition, please learn it. Function overloading. This is also another important topic. Overloading is a feature that allows a class to have more than one method having the same name if their argument lists are different. So we can say simply function with the same name but with the different arguments are known as function overloading. Okay, now let us see this example. This will make you very clear about function overloading. See this, my class. Now this is small 3 methods, very simple methods. Int, see, integer type return, plus is the method name, 2 arguments of integer type. Return x plus y means I am adding these 2 values and returning. That's why integer return. Now next method, let us look into the next method. Double type return, plus is the name of the function. See, plus here, 2 double type arguments. Return x plus y. I am adding these 2 x and y. I am adding and returning the value. So double type return. Next, float plus, again plus. That means function name is same. Float x then float y. I am adding this returning value. Now look at overloading according to the definition. Methods with the same name. See, plus. Methods with the same name but with the different arguments. Look at integer argument, double argument, float argument. Argument should be different. Name will be same. Function name will be same but with a different argument. That type of functions when you create, it is called a method overloading. What it is called? A method overloading. Now when we call this object I have created, okay, int num is equal to plus 85. I am calling, see, all are plus only. Why I have declared here int num? Because this function is returning an integer value. See this is returning an integer value. Now this is returning a double value and this is returning float. You can go for double also, no problem. So I have received 3 values over here. So plus. All the function names are same only. Now how to differentiate? The differentiation is its values, argument. Here 2 integer values. Here 2 double values. Here 2 float values that I have given. So these 8 and 5 will be copied here. 4.3 and 6.26 will be copied here. 5.3f and 8.26f will be copied here. Then what is the function doing? Adding and returning that particular value. So the values are returned and it is kept in num1, num2 and num3 that I am printing. So your answer will be 13. See, 8 plus 5, 13. So one only I am going to explain. 8, 5. 8 will be copied to x, 5 will be copied to y. And return x plus y. 8 plus 5 means 13. 13 will be returned here. That will be stored in num1. That num1 will be printed. So this is method overloading. So all the methods are same name only. Having same name only. See, it is plus. But how it is called? Because the differentiation is there in their particular argument part. So this also will work the same way. This is the first program for printing palindrome numbers between 100 to 400. See, 100 to 400, in order to print the palindrome numbers, we need to run our loop. If we are not knowing function, we need to run the loop how many times? 300 times. Very difficult task. That's why, see the functions, its usage its advantage we are going to use over here. See, I need to check palindrome. So you need to write a very common function for palindrome. Okay, see, palindrome I have checked here. I have written a boolean function. See, boolean fact int a. Okay, this is the logic of palindrome. If the number is palindrome, I will return true, otherwise I will return false. Now this is the main method. I have created the object 100 to 400. I am running the loop. Now ob.fact means ob.fact I means 100 means 100 will be passed over here. 100 will be passed. Now 100 will be checked for what? Palindrome. I will get what? False. Is it equal to true? False I am getting. It's not true. So I will be printed? No, I won't be printed. Now this loop is running 101. If ob.fact I is equal to true, okay, then the control will be shifting from this place to this place. 101 will be copied. See, our second value is 101. 101 will be copied here. Then these all procedure will go, keep on doing. What is this? 101 will be checked for palindrome. I am reversing. This is the reverse we are getting. Checking the original number and reverse both are same. Yes, 101 means it's true. True will be returned here. Checking whether the returned value is equal to true. Yes, obviously it is true. So I will be printed. What is I? 101 will be printed. That way, this number up to 400, whatever the numbers are there in between as palindrome, that will be printed. So once again, how the program is running, the program, whatever the things you need to repeat, that will make it as a function. Here this is your function. See the function. This will check a number is palindrome or not. If it is palindrome, it will return true value, else it will return false value. Now this is the main thing. This is the main method. Created object, running a loop from 100 to 400 because I need numbers between 100 and 400. I am running it 100 to 400. First number sent will be 100. 100 will be copied here and it will be going for the checking of palindrome. So 100 is not a palindrome number. So when it will be reversed, you will not get 100. So false will be returned. So the value returned over here is false. False is equal to true. It is false, so it won't be printed. So the procedure you will be continuing for getting these numbers. Next is Java program for printing two numbers are twin prime or not. Twin prime means both the numbers, two numbers you will be giving, and both those numbers will be prime number. And not only it is not only prime, their difference should be 2. Those numbers are called twin prime numbers. For example, 5 and 7. Is 5 is prime number? Yes. 7, is it a prime number? Yes. Now look at their difference. 5 minus 7 or 7 minus 5. Is it 2? Yes. So we can say 5 and 7 are twin prime numbers. Look at here. I see twin prime. What I have to check? The common thing I need to check whether the input numbers are prime or not. 5 I have to check for prime and 7 I have to check for prime. So I am writing, see the repetition work is prime. So I am writing a method for checking a number is prime or not. So prime number logic you all are knowing. If the number given is prime, okay, see this program is running, then whether it is prime or not, flag will be returned over here. Okay, so this is that part only, checking it is prime or not. Now I am getting two numbers, this is 5 and 7. Object I have created, first function I have called, first time the function is called, a will be sent. In place of a I have 5 over here, so 5 is copied here, that 5 will be going over here. Okay, and it's returning the value to p. Okay, if it is a prime number, it will return what it will return? 1 itself it will return. Okay, if it is not a prime number, then the flag will change. What will change? The flag will change to 0. Now second number I am sending 7. 7 will be copied here. Okay, 7 will be copied from here to here. The entire process it will go and the number will be checked for prime. In this both the cases I will get the answer will be kept in P and Q. So P and Q I will get as 1. So we will conclude that 5 and 7 are prime. What is the next step? 5 minus 7, otherwise 5 minus 7, otherwise 7 minus 5 should be 2. That also I am checking. So in this case I will print twin prime. Next, this program is used for special number or not. A number is a special number or not. So let us see this special numbers. Only we need to generate the factorial of a number. That is a repetitive work over here. Special number means this is special number. Original number suppose 145. It's factorial. This is symbol used for factorial. Factorial means, see 4 factorial means 1 into 2 into 3 into 4, 24. 5 factorial means 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 5, 120. 1 factorial means 1 into 1, 1. When you add these factorial values, the original number and the factorial sum should equal. That's why that is what we call special number. So the repetitive work, I need to calculate the factorial of 1, I need to calculate the factorial of 4, I need to calculate the factorial of 5. So that I have made as a function here. See, static int factorial, the number that you are giving. So this will generate the factorial and it will return. That's all. So let us go to execute the program. Our program will execute from here. Okay, this is done with the scanner class. So I am entering a number, reading the number, its copy is stored in temp variable, running a while loop. This is extracting its last digit, and sum is equal to sum plus factorial of digit. The digit means the last digit what I have extracted. Okay, last digit will be sent from here to here for checking factorial. See, this is a function call statement. So the last digit, that is 5, will be sent over here. 5 will be copied to this place. Now f is equal to 1, 2 to the number itself, 2 to 5 the loop will run, 2 to 5 the loop will run. Every time 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 5 will be multiplied, and 120 will be generated in this. 120 will be returned over here. That will be added to sum. Now number will be reduced to 14. 145 will be 14 now. Again while loop will run. Digit is equal to temp modulus 10. What is this temp? It is 14. 14 modulus 10 means 4. Now sum is equal to sum plus factorial of digit. What is the digit over here? The digit is 4. 4 will be again sent over here. 4 will be sent over here. Now the loop will run and 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 will be generated here. I have started the loop from 2 only because 1 there is no meaning, that's why. So it will be keep on multiplying and generating 24. That 24 will be returned here. Okay, then that will be added to sum. And again temp is equal to temp divided by 10. That means 1. 1 not equal to 0. True, coming over here. Modulus 10. Modulus 10 means the number will be 1. Again 1 will be sent for the factorial. So you will get f is initialized as 1. So 1 you will be returning. It's also added. Now temp is equal to temp divided by 10. Divided by 10 means this becomes 0. So temp not equal to 0 means loop false. Coming out of this loop, checking sum. Sum means, what is the sum? 1 plus 24 plus 120. It is 145 is equal to the original number. I have kept the original number here. I have used this variable only. So 145 is equal to 145. Yes. So special number is printed. Else what could have been printed? Not a special number. So in this program, the common thing that what we wanted to do, that we will make as a function, and that will be called many times in the program. So factorial is the common function that I am calling here. In this case 3 times I am calling. So children, we have completed our lecture about functions. I have included all the important notes there in the PPT itself. You need to do one thing only. Write all the notes in the copy and learn. This is a very important chapter. Based on this, lot of things you are going to learn. So don't miss it. Hope we will meet with another video. Bye.